So what should you expect from a great flooring salesperson? Well, let's run through an example. So let's say that you are working on a $20,000 flooring project and you're trying to decide who you're going to give that business to. So if you have salesperson A over here who ignored you when you walked in and you're constantly calling them for updates, they're never giving you the information that you're asking for, is that who you want to give the business to and run your project? Or are you wanting to give it to salesperson B who took notes and took interest in your project and remembers your dog's name? Your salesperson is working for you. And so you should not be having to chase them at all. They should be helping guide you. They should be knowledgeable. They should actually show interest in wanting to work with you. And if it seems like they're just trying to get in for the money, then that's not a good salesperson either. From when I was in the flooring sales position myself to then being moved into a role where I was actually doing the training for our sales staff who had no prior sales experience, no prior flooring experience, I've definitely learned a lot about some best practices, so I wanted to pass along some tips of things that you should see in your flooring salesperson to know if you have a winner or not. Now, I'm just gonna hit on my top 8 that I think make a great salesperson. Now, these don't necessarily just limit itself to the flooring industry. A lot of these can be translated to people in all different industries. So regardless of what kind of project you're working on, if you are working with a designated consultant or a salesperson, these can apply. So first up, it seems like an obvious one, but they should take genuine interest in your project. And that oftentimes should look like them sitting down with you and asking questions to understand what kind of project you're working on, what you're looking for, what you have existing, and then moving forward with the appointment from there. Because a lot of times in those initial meetings, those initial conversations is when major issues are often uncovered. At least this is when they should be uncovered, so that you're not having something come up later on that could derail the project or cost you a ton more money. And going one step further with that, the salesperson should really be writing down the information that you're telling them. I don't care how good you say your memory is. I think I have a fairly decent memory, but there's still details that you can forget. Salespeople are not only working with you. They might have dozens of clients that they're working with at the same time. And so you don't want them to start mixing information from, Susie's project with John's project over here. Now, this next item is actually something that a salesperson should not do. And that is they should not take you to their favorite product that they sell all the time, because that just means they're showing it to everybody. It's not catered to you and what you need, what you're looking for. Now, we all do have favorites. That's a part of being human. We have our own opinions. We have products we like more than others. That's going to happen. But if they're only showing everybody the same thing every single time, then how can you know that they, one, even listened to what you said in the initial meeting while they were asking questions, if they're just giving you the standard run-of-the-mill product anyway? Which also then leads into number 3. That is that they should be knowledgeable about the products on their showroom. Now, they're going to have ones that they navigate towards more than others. I did as well. But if you go up to a display in their showroom, imagine this, and you say, oh, I like the look of this hardwood right here. What can you tell me about this? And they know nothing. Absolutely nothing. That to me is a red flag. They should at least know something. Who's the manufacturer, what's a nice feature of it, or maybe why it wouldn't be a good fit for me. Because if it's on their showroom and they're selling it, shouldn't they know what they're selling? And so now number 4 is that they should not just make things up. Now this kind of, again, flows from this third point where if they don't know the answer to something, don't just make something up. Like, a lot of us can tell when people are just blowing smoke. And that's not a good look. And then you're going to start questioning what other things and what other information you can trust that they've already shared with you or are going to share with you. It is perfectly acceptable, in my opinion, if someone does not know the answer to a question, to say, hey, I honestly am not sure, or I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to give you the wrong information. Can I look into this and then follow back up with you with that information or that answer to your question? Number 5, follow up. Now, I'm not just talking where the salesperson's going to just check in, hey, are you ready to buy? Like, bleh. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about if they have committed to keeping you updated on something, and do they actually follow through? So actually just had a great example of, if the salesperson doesn't know the answer to your question, them saying that, hey, I'm not sure, can I check on it and follow up with you in 3 days? This is a perfect example. So let's say that this did happen to you when you're working on a project, and the third day comes around, and of course you're expecting a phone call, you're expecting an update, but you hear nothing. Day 4 passes, let's say day 5 passes, and it's just crickets. There's absolutely no communication of any sort from your salesperson. So naturally, you're going to start getting curious and probably frustrated, and it's going to feel a little bit awkward, but you're going to be calling them and you're going to say, hey, where's that information? Or you might not call them at all. And that's honestly fair as well. But if you call them and you're asking, and let's say that they answer and they're just like, oh, well, I didn't get all the information. So that's why I hadn't called you yet. I was going to call you once it came in. I would much rather have heard the salesperson, or actually had the salesperson call me on day 3 and say something along the lines of, well, hey, I know I promised I was going to follow up with you today. This is where I'm at so far. This is the information that I have. I am still waiting on X, Y, and Z. And so I will, keep up to this. I'll check in with you again in another couple days to let you know if there's another update, but just wanted to let you know where I'm at. Now, again, which response would you rather have from your salesperson? Number 6, your salesperson should always be letting you know about whatever the next step is of your project. A great salesperson, every time they communicate with you, is going to tell you if there's something that you need to be working on yourself, and they're going to be telling you what they are going to be doing to work on your project next. Because you don't want to keep guessing. As the customer, you don't want to keep guessing, okay, what's next? Is there something they're waiting on for me? What are they working on in the meantime? Like, having this clarity as a customer, you're going to feel just so much more relaxed. As an example, let's say that you finish up your first consultation with your salesperson. You've selected some samples that you will be taking home. Your salesperson should sit down with you and say, okay, here are the next steps. You're going to take these samples home. You're going to try them in your house, see which ones that you like. Then, while that's happening, I will be working on getting a measurement scheduled for you. And then after that, I will be creating a quote and so on and so forth. Number 7, a salesperson should be very comfortable with the pricing structure of their company. And so what I mean by that is that when you go into a company's, or you're working with an installer, whoever you're working with on your project, you should be able to get some sort of estimate or a range or a quote very early on in the process. They should not be having to wait until the very end to give you a quote or some idea. Now, obviously, you do have to work with them on this. You can't just call and say, hey, how much would it be to install hardwood in my house? Obviously, they need information like what's the square footage, what type of product. Like there is a process to get to that point. You can't just expect to call in a salesperson to just give you an arbitrary price. Like you need to provide them enough information for them to do so. But I believe that they should be able to do so upfront. I think that it is super helpful as the customer to know, okay, is this the direction, this the type of product that I'm going to go with based off of my budget, or am I dreaming? Number 8, a great salesperson should have some degree of follow-up after the installation is complete. Now, obviously, this isn't something that you're going to know ahead of the project, but this is something that I think can really kind of just put a bow on top of your entire experience for your flooring project. If after your install is complete, you have a salesperson who calls you to follow up on it, get your thoughts, and then handle any questions or concerns that you might have, that's gold. Yeah, so I really just think that having this sort of follow-up is really just the icing on the cake for a great experience and what really makes a great salesperson and helps them to stand out. So if your salesperson does all of these things, then you can confidently know that if and when a problem were to occur on your project, that you can call them, they will answer, and they will resolve the issue for you. Having a designated person is incredibly worth it when they have these skills because they're detail-oriented and they actually care about your project. So they're going to care about your satisfaction and the results of your project. So the key takeaway here is just look for a salesperson who shows you respect, and then your project will be a success. Have you worked with a salesperson like this, or maybe the opposite? Let me know in the comments below.